This is Archie Starr, Memories of Charlton, at the Clock House on, what's the date today? 11th of February, 88. Right, I have to ask you to hold this, if that's okay. And if you want to, on the side, there's a pause button. Right, so, the best way to start. When did you first start going to watch Charlton, Archie?
Well, my first recollection was when must have been 5. I was born in 1919, and I must have been about 5 or 6. It was my father lifting me over the turnstiles to take me in. I imagine I was too young to pay, I suppose, and I can remember him lifting me over the turnstiles. Mm. And that was the first time I remember anything about the football in the Valley.
And how many years has your father been going? Has your father been going down there before? Has he been a
yes.
Charlton fan?
Oh yes, he supported them before they went to the Valley.
Mm.
In fact, he told me he was one of the band of supporters who went down and helped to clear it, because it was a rubbish tip apparently, and he helped to clear the site. Now, they used to go down after work with their shovels and clear all the rubbish away, ready for the pitch to be laid. And he said, in the first dressing room was a wooden hut. Yeah, and he remembered, he supported them like this other chap did before they went there. He talked about a ground at Pound Park. Well, I know where Pound Park Road is, but I don't know where the ground was. Where all those houses are, I suppose.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've heard another story that the Valley was a rubbish tip, and if they were to dig it up, I don't know if the pitch has been relayed. I think the pitch will probably be relayed since.
Oh,
but
yes.
If they dug it up before, it was just covered with flattened tin cans.
That's right.
Underneath to level it off.
That's right. And now some years ago, I don't know, 20 odd years ago, since the war, they relayed the pitch. They did put new drainage in, and under the centre spot, they dug up one of these old bars, this long bars. And I always told, kidded, because my father was alive then, I kidded him. I said, that was your drainage system. I said, tin bars under the centre spot. But still.
So you would have started going when they were in the third division.
Yes. I should think that about 1925, 26, I would think. When I started going, and my father used to take me regularly then. And of course, I've supported them ever since. I remember. I suppose that one of the highlights that sticks out was the first game against Arsenal after they got promotion in 1930, whenever it was, 37, 38. Was the first match against Arsenal, which Charlton lost 2-0, and the crowd was all sitting on the roof of the stand, sitting on the apex there of the new stand up the far end. And that was the only time I saw Alex Jones play. He played for Arsenal that day, and I never saw him after. I think he must have retired soon after. Alex James, the Scottish international, famous footballer. Everyone of my age will know Alex James. Yeah.
What about the Charlton team at the time? What were they like?
They had a team, and I wish they had one like it now. I tell you, marvellous. Of course, there's Sam Bartram, the greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen.
Is it right that he was never capped?
Yes, he did get capped for, I believe, for a tour of Australia or something, but he was never capped for home internationals or anything like that. And he got various games for the FA 11 at times. But of course, the trouble was he was around at the same time as Frank Swift, who was the England goalkeeper, and he was good. Because Sam didn't really get a look in, but he was extremely good.
And what about the rest of them? What about the defenders?
Oh, the defenders during that successful run was Jimmy Oakes, the captain, left back, and Norman Smith, who played for Charlton for years before that. He was a veteran then, Norman Smith, at right back. And then there was John Oakes, centre half. No relation to Jimmy, but his name was Oakes. They signed him as a centre forward from Aldershot, and Seed made him into a centre half, a stopper, and he was good too. And then there was Don Welsh, of course, and Joe Jobling, marvellous wing half, and there was Wilkinson on the right wing, and George Robinson inside right, and then they had one or two centre forwards. Ralph Allen. I don't think he played in the first division. No, he was in the third division promotion side, but I don't think he was quite good enough for first division. And I don't know. I had Stuart Leary and Fermani came not long after.
Was there a Hobbins and Hobbis?
Oh yes, Harold Hobbis was the outside left. They called him Granny because because he was so slow. He was the slowest winger I've ever seen in my life. But he was a wonderful ball player. He could beat people on the sixpence, and he could score goals too. Although he was slow, he was unique really. And Sid Hobbins was the goalkeeper who was understudy to Bartram at one time, and he never got a chance because Sam was very rarely injured, you see. So poor old Hobbins was playing in the reserves year after year. He didn't get much of a go, really. Yes, and he was the left. Oh, well, Hobbis was the left winger, and George Stevenson was an inside left, a veteran from. He came from. I don't know, Preston, I think, or somewhere. He was a brother of Clem. So I heard of Clem Stevenson, the famous old footballer. Yeah, well, George Stevenson was his brother, and he was a veteran, and Hobbis was a youngster, and together they formed a lovely left-wing partnership,
Who were the hard men of the team?
The hard men. I don't know. Well, I suppose the backs were the hard men. I mean, Jimmy Oakes was a hell of a good tackler.
There weren't any sort of notorious...
No notorious sort of bite your legs players that I remember, no. But I don't know, you see, what Jimmy C did. His philosophy when he took over, his philosophy was that he built the team on a strong defence, and his philosophy was if you don't let a goal in, you can't lose. And there's always a chance that something might happen at the other end. That was his philosophy, so I believe, and it worked. The number of games they won by 1-0, you'd be surprised if you look back through the record. 1 goal, they defend for most of the game and break away and score a goal. It wasn't pretty to watch, but it was effective.
That's what really counted, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what year did they actually get into the first division? Do you remember that?
Well, I'm not too sure. I think their run started in 36. 30, I should think it would. Then they got promotion the following year from the second division. I should think possibly 38 was the year they got into the first division, because they didn't have long to play before the war came along. You see.
I suppose if the war hadn't have happened, it would have been possibly the Liverpool of.
Yes, they could have been. 40s. Yes, because in their first season in their first division, they finished runners up to. Either Manchester United or Manchester City, I can't remember. It was a tremendous run. They got the champions in the third division. I think it was 1936, I'm not too sure. And then the following season they were runners-up in the second and got promotion. And the following season they were runners-up to the champion in the first division. So it was a tremendous run. They've never forget it, really. Of course, when they won the Cup in 1947, they weren't such a good team as that promotion team. They weren't doing very well in the league at that time. They were in the bottom few of the league when they won the Cup. They just did. I don't know how they did it.
They deserved it after their efforts the previous 8 years or so.
Yeah.
Well, what about the? Because I've got here.
Yeah. Yes, that was supposed to be the record crowd, they say, at 75,000. That was the record for the Valley at that match.
1938 against Villa, wasn't it?
That's right, 1938 against Villa in the Cup. And I remember it because Charlton, I think they were a goal down and time was ticking away, and George Robinson swung his foot at a ball on the edge of the penalty area, and the thing rocketed into the top corner of the net for the equaliser. Couldn't have been very long to go, I should think, right near the end of the game. And I'll never forget it, all the crowd went mad, Hats and umbrellas were up in the air, tremendous excitement. And then they replayed at Villa Park, the following week, during the midweek, and they drew there, and I believe they drew 2-2, and I'm not sure of the score. And then they had a third replay, and in those days they played, if it came to a second replay, they played on neutral grounds, and they played the third game at Highbury.
They do the same now, don't
Well, they seem to toss up or something,
Do
don't
they?
they? And a lot of occasions they seem to toss up, and for like if say Oxford and Luton play and they draw, then they if they draw, then they on each other's grounds, then they toss up, and the winner gets it on their ground again. That seems to be the thing now. I don't know. Anyway, that match, the second replay at Highbury. Charlton lost, and that was the match where Hobbs broke his leg, and he was never the same after that. Although he did come back, but he was never the same.
Put a stop on it, or down on it. Sort of
Yes.
I mean, they're saying there was 75,000 there, and 2 years previously there had been 68,000 against Arsenal in the league.
That was the one I was talking about.
That was the first match against Arsenal.
First match against Arsenal. Yeah.
I mean, were the crowds always around that sort of figure in that period? Were there always sort of 50 or 60,000 down there each week? Would it very much depend?
No, depending on the opposition. I mean, because Arsenal, you'd expect a big crowd, you see, and of course a cup match like that. No, I should think the average in those days was certainly near 40. Nearer 40 than anything, 40,000.
The equivalent almost to Liverpool and Manchester United these days.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Well, the Charlton game now about 3,000, 4,000.
Pathetic, isn't it? I don't see how they can live like that.
Should we just stop there for a second?
Yes.
For example, the victory parade.
The victory parade. Yeah.
There we go. Let's go.
Well, the thing is that I didn't actually see this parade, to be honest, because we were still coming back from Wembley, you see. My wife and I...
Was this the same day as this was on the match day, was it?
Yeah, this was the day. I think this was the day of the match. It was the evening. Yeah, I think it was the... Or was it the day after? I don't know. But I didn't see it because, I tell you what, when my wife and I both got tickets to see him win the cup, and after the match, we saw at the back of the stadium, we hang around, we were sort of savouring the moment, and Peter Croker, the chap who played right back that day, he was showing people around the back, he's showing his medal, and we crowded around and saw his winner's medal. But I didn't see that parade, no. Maybe... I thought it was the same day as the match.
That's quite sad because this company were
Lewis, yeah.
I mean, they've just finished trading. I think they've just.
Well, they've moved the old office, haven't they? They've got a new office in Greenwich High Road. That was the thing.
Yes.
This corner one in Blackwell Lane. Yeah, I should think so too. Look at him. Oh, I shouldn't be saying that. Should I? So anyway, we saw. And the left back that day, Jack Shreve, he was my neighbour. After he packed up from Charlton, he was my neighbour. He took a little tobacconist shop next door.
Did you used to go down with him to the 7 matches?
No, he just lost interest because he was a coach or trainer, I doubt about it, and they just booted him out. I don't know why. And that's when he took up the shop. And the poor chap, he died in that shop on the day England won the World Cup. You remember England winning the World Cup against Germany? Yeah. Well, that morning, he never knew England had won the Cup. It was the morning he collapsed and died in the shop. Poor old Jack. He always had weight troubles. He put on weight when he packed up.
Still, there's another name, which I don't know, Alec Hurd.
Oh, yes.
You remember Alec Hurd?
I remember Alec Hurd playing. Yeah, he played for Charlton. He's a wing half, and he's a Scot. And then after he packed up playing, he became the trainer.
Because he died quite recently.
Oh, did he?
He was about 87.
Yeah, he must have been.
One in the special obituary in the Mercury, it said that
that.
when he was the trainer, one of the things he used to do was apparently they used to have some players' houses up by Blackheath. And he used to go around making sure they were all in bed.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was his job. Yes, they used to do that. I know. I remember Jack Shreve telling me that they used to go around and get tucked up in bed almost, the day before a match. Yes, I remember Alex Hurd. Yeah, he was a great servant. Is Jimmy Trotters there? Is he? Do you know?
I don't know. Right, so did the wife used to go with you a lot to the matches?
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. From the, of course, we. During the war, actually, when I was home on leave, you know, the wartime football, she used to come down, and she wasn't interested in football before the match, you know, but afterwards, yeah, we used to travel a lot. When I was demobbed, you know, after the war, we used to go.
What sort of team did they have during the war? Because obviously all the main players were off.
Yeah, well, they were scattered all over the place. You know, some of the old players, you know, managed to get leave. It all depends if the players could get leave at the same time. You know, I don't know can't remember really what kind of a team they had, but one of the best teams in the country during the war was Aldershot, because they had, they have all these famous players. You know, a lot of them in the army stationed at Aldershot. So Aldershot had a tremendous team, internationals and God knows what. Yeah.
Was there any kind of league set up during the war?
Yeah, there was. There was a league set up. Eventually, it was divided into south and north. You know, to save travelling. And I mean, there was a wartime cup competition. Charlton appeared at Wembley. One or two of those cup finals. I think they even won one. I'm not sure. Can't remember now because I was away. But
there's a period in some English football that you don't really hear much about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see, when war broke out, they cancelled all the football. You know, when war. Actually, the day war broke. No, it wasn't the day war broke out. It must have been a few days after. I remember I was at the Valley watching a reserve match, Cannon combination match, and that was the day when the bombers came over. They bombed the docks, set fire to the docks, you know, and there were about 5 minutes to go, and the sirens went, and then we saw these planes, you know, the bombers coming over. I heard the guns were firing, you know, and that referee wouldn't blow the whistle. He played on that last 5 minutes to the played out time, you know. And then we all scarf and quit. At home quickly.
The players kept their minds on the game.
Well, I don't think they did. I think they all wanted to go off, but they played this 5 minutes with the guns booming and everything. But anyway.
I missed out on the bath that day.
I reckon they must have done, yeah. But, no, it's...
Can I interrupt you? Yes, certainly.
No.
Cup winning side.
All right, the cup winning side in 1947 was Bartram, Croker, Shreve. The half-back line was Johnson, Phipps, Whittaker, and the forward line was Hurst, Dawson, W. Robinson, Welsh, Duffy. And Duffy scored the only goal. There you are. It's engraved.
Just stand up, because he had
Archie's father was a shareholder in the club, as well as helping to lay the pitch. But do you know any details about how the shares were issued or anything like that?
No, I don't. No. Oh, all I remember is that at that period, when he got these shares, there was some trouble. There were some allegations of fraud.
Nothing changes, does it?
Nothing changed. And in fact, he often told me that the books were burned, the grandstand was set on fire, and the books were all destroyed because of the fraud, you know. Trying to think of the name of the crooked director or manager they had at that time.
When that would have been? What year?
I think that would have been in the 1920s, sometime in the 1920s. Yeah. Years ago, when the first team were playing away, I remember they used to, at the reserve games at the Valley, when the first team were playing away, they used to put the half-time score in Charlton's match chalk it on a blackboard, and a chap used to carry it round the ground so you could see the half-time score.
Well, no tannoy system then, was it?
No tannoy system then, you see. No, they used to come round, chalk it on the board, you know. Charlton win 2-1 or whatever.
Would they get good crowds then if the reserve matches as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. The best crowd always for the reserve match was when Arsenal reserves came down. It was always a good crowd there. I should imagine.
What was this thing with the Arsenal? Was it because they had been fairly local in the past? And there was sort of
Yes, I think so, yes.
There was something to do with it.
I think that had something to do with it. Because, I mean, there's still lots of people go from the Woolwich and Plumstead area, still now go over to Highbury, don't they? All these years they've gone over to support Arsenal.
Runs in the family blood, I suppose.
Family, yeah, that's right. It's passed down from father to son, I suppose, and so it goes on. But and then then at the combination matches, we used to gather outside the back of the stand at the end of the match to wait for the first team result to come through. And the commissioner used to come out. I can see him now. He used to come out and say, "Lost 4-0 or lost 2-1 or whatever, or won." You know, yes, they won. We all went home happy.
in the ground on first team match days.
Oh, it's tremendous. Especially during the success years, you know, 1936 onwards. Because I remember the Royal Artillery, when the Royal Artillery Band used to play before the matches, you know, and that created a great atmosphere. You know, this military band playing, they used to march up and down, and they had they put a chap playing a post horn chap up on top of the big bank, and while the rest of the band were down on the pitch, and they used to play the post horn gallop, you know, and this chap used to do his solo up there on top of the bank. Tremendous. Lieutenant Colonel Geary was the conductor, I remember.
They were down there every
They were down there every home match, yeah. Tremendous atmosphere. I mean, this tannoy system, can't compare a tannoy with...
They just get top of the pops, don't they?
Yeah, that's right, yes. You can't compare a band and a marching band. At half-time, they used to march up and down the pitch and that.
What about, was there much singing and chanting? Or, I don't imagine there was a lot of chanting, but were there any sort of songs? You could remember that used to get the whole crowd going.
Not really. No, I don't think so. They just used to listen to the band, I think. No, because you know, the band, being a military band, played mainly military marches and things like that. So they weren't singing.
No, during the game was
Oh, during the game. Well, yes. I mean, you used to get cries of "up the addicts" and you know, up the Reds and up the addicts, things like that. Didn't get any of this chanting and clapping your hands above your head and all that sort of rubbish you get now, or pointing. You know, this is what I don't like. They go like this. Yes, it's like a Nazi salute. You know, that's what it reminds you. No, crowds were, of course. I mean, all you had then in the way of police were probably one at each corner, perhaps a couple on the halfway line, and that was it. You know, no trouble at all. I never ever remember any trouble. You know, in those days, nothing. If you look at the photographs of the crowds now, you'll find that most of them are smiling. You know.
What about if there were local derbies between, say, Millwall and Charlton?
Yeah, well,
what was that like?
Yeah, that was fine. Supporters always used to stand together, you know. And the worst that would ever happen was a verbal thing, verbal assault. You'd have an argument, perhaps. Never anything else. I never ever remember anything. You know, they used to mingle together. Whoever they were, used to just enjoy the football.
Someone else told me that it was the old chap just over the road.
Yeah.
He said that the Millwall crowd they had a reputation for being a hard crowd, but they weren't violent.
No, that's true.
And the worst you might have got was a dig in the ribs or something.
Yeah.
If you said something out of line.
That's right.
Especially if you were down at the den.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've been down the den. Yeah. Yes. No, there was nothing vicious at all like there is now. Nothing. But I do wish they wouldn't call these blokes football fans, because football fans, they're not. You know, they don't. In fact, they're destroying the game. Really, they can't be football fans. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
It's a gang thing, isn't it? It's an excuse for the
Yeah.
gang to meet and
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
What about, because I've heard stories of the kids, the young boys, when their parents or fathers brought them down to the matches,
Yeah.
of stories of boys standing at the back. They would be passed down over everyone's heads.
Oh, yeah,
They would end up sitting on the touchline.
That's right, and a big crowd day. Yeah. Oh yes. That's right. I remember a match against Spurs in about 1940. No, wait a minute. When they got promotion from the second division, they'd gone up from the third the previous year, about 1936. This would be about 1937. And there was a crowd then. This was before the banking was extended. The big bank was extended. And they had a crowd of 47,000, which was a tremendous crowd. You know, they stood at the cliff where the big bank is now. The top half of that used to be just a cliff, you know. Before and some of the barriers broke. I remember that. They were wooden barriers and they snapped. And the crowd surged forward. And there again, I remember seeing the youngsters being handed over the top of the crowd down onto the touchline. I remember that. Nobody was hurt, funny enough,
Yeah.
but could have been serious, I suppose.
And there was, what age did you start going to matches on your own? And,
Yeah.
How old would you have been when you started doing that?
God, I should think probably. About 9 or 10. I remember playing hooky from school one afternoon because it was the days before floodlights, and I used to play matches in the afternoon, weekday afternoon sometimes. I don't know. I skipped off from school to see one match, which Charlton lost, as far as I remember.
Did you get caught?
No, I don't think I did. I made the excuse to the school that I got a headache, and I don't think my mother ever knew that I stayed away from school.
Because obviously in those days, in the 30s and 40s, you kind of had a lot of pocket money.
No.
So how would you have afforded to get into the matches?
Well, I think as far as I remember, it was I don't know whether it was probably sixpence, 6 old pence, I think. Well, I used to get it from my mother and father, you know. Generally, I think I would probably have gone down with my father. But he used to get me down the front, you see. The children, he used to get, because he used to stand somewhere else. He was at the back of the uncovered goal all the time. He had his favourite spot, and he would get me down to the front, push me down to the front by the railing so I could see. And funnily enough, years after, I did exactly the same with my son. Yeah, I used to take him down. We used to go down there about an hour before kick-off so that I could get him down the front. Isn't it strange how history repeats itself? Yeah, yeah.
I can remember because when I was growing up, we were living in Winchester, Hampshire, so
Oh, yes.
was the same as Southampton.
Of course, yeah.
So we used to go down the Dell.
Yeah.
So, you always make sure we get there early so I could get a place. So we used to stand behind the goal. There was always a visitor's end, wasn't there?
That's right. Yeah.
Just in the 70s, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he used to really love it.
Yeah.
But he used to take me to rugby internationals as well. He'd go to Twickenham sometimes.
Oh, yes.
And that was superb. And that really was an occasion.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. It still is, I suppose, really.
Well, it is. I mean, it hasn't really changed that much, luckily.
No.
It's not like football. There's nothing. You have the occasional yachts, but
Yeah.
hanging from the crossbars or whatever. Shitting out the post. But,
Yeah. I think it's certainly changed for the worst.
what did your father do?
Oh, he was an engineer and fitter. He worked as a fitter. He served his apprenticeship on the Great Western Railway at Swindon, and then he worked for many years at the tramway repair depot along Woolwich Road here, repairing the trams. That's where he worked. And,
How about yourself?
I'd had about 3 or 4 jobs in my life. I worked at Stone's, J. Stone at Deptford for a long while, then J. Stone at Charlton after the war. And then I got fed up with that, and in 1960 I left there to work over on the Isle of Dogs at a colour making company, Burrell and Company over there, and made redundant from there when I was about 62, the company folded up. And so then I went to work for another chemical company up in London, Peter Whiting Chemicals, until I retired, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, sales, I did everything, you know.
So your father wasn't out of work during the 30s?
No, during the 30s he was lucky. I think he had been out of work before that, because he often told me he'd marched from somewhere to find work. I don't know where it was. Whether it was from Swindon or not, I don't know. But no, we were lucky because he, as far as I remember, he was never out of work. I suppose being a skilled man, perhaps, you know, fitter. There was always work, you see.
Yeah.
And working on the tramways, trams always needed repairing, I suppose, and that was it.
And did you always live within walking distance of the ground?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
yeah.
always-
So I was brought up in Wincliffe Road. During the war, my parents moved round into the next road, Sandclough Road, and then when my wife and I got married, we got a place where we are now, Victoria Way. We've been there ever since. And it's only about 5 minutes walk to the valley, you see.
That's very close.
Yeah.
So you didn't have all the trouble of getting the trams or the buses to get down?
No. But people used to say that, you know, the valley was bad for transport, but I could never see that, because there was a railway station right outside the ground, and there were buses and trams down the bottom, buses at the top of Church Lane, you know. I always thought it was pretty good for that.
Yeah, I would have thought the same.
Would have thought, you know,
Yeah,
but people used to say, oh no, you know, it's not good at all.
Yeah.
I know the streets round about were narrow.
Mm.
Floyd Road, for instance, is fairly narrow, but I've seen much worse. You know.
What about the, for instance, what's come to mind, the match ball raffle?
Yeah.
How did that work?
Yeah, don't forget your ball ticket. You know, I remember that. Used to sell penny tickets, you know, as you went in. Ball ticket, penny each, you know, and they used to, I suppose someone used to draw it at half time or something, and you have to go, I never won it, but if you won it, you have to go around the back of the stand with your ticket after the match, and I give you the match ball. I remember the chap coming round subbing nugget, penny a bar or something, great big bar of tooth-wrenching nugget, you know. Peanuts.
And what about, were the fans all decked out in the colours?
Well, only I would think for the big matches, perhaps big cup ties. Because for a big cup tie, you get the jokers who really dress up, you know, in bizarre outfits, top hats and never knows what, and play around the centre circle, you know, before the match and that sort of thing. But, you know, most of the league matches, I don't know. They wore the scarves. And, of course, for cup ties, you have these rattles, which you don't see now. I suppose they're not allowed now because they're offensive weapons or something.
Hooters, don't you?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, it's certainly changed. The atmospheres are different. But that band was a great thing, that brass band. Before the match, it gave a sense of, like it does at Wembley even now, doesn't it, for a cup final?
Sense of occasion.
Sense of occasion.
Yeah.
Which you don't get with the loudspeaker system. You don't get that.
It's all very, very interesting to me to
Yeah.
because my memories of football were really from
Quite recent.
through the 70s. First football match I went to was actually about 8 or 9, it was about 1970s.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, there wasn't too much trouble.
No.
There were a handful of hooligans, but it wasn't as bad as it is now.
No.
But since I've been living down here, I went up to the valley a few times, I went down to the den a few times, but
Yeah.
to Highbury or something, Upton Park, but
I don't know whether you feel it, but when you're young, you know, your team remains your team. Any other team is, you know, merely on a few occasions I've been over to Selhurst, say 3 times. It's just like watching them play an away game to me.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
well, that's what they say, they say every match
Yeah.
they play is an away game.
It's an away game. Yeah, it's
no,
just.
no matter where they are.
I'll tell you, the last match my father ever saw was not too far long ago. It was this 7-6 win over Huddersfield. I don't know if anyone's ever told you about that one. Well, John were at home to Huddersfield, and second division match it was, and I persuaded my father. He hadn't been for some years, because he was, knocking on a bit then. So I've talked him this day into coming down to see this match. I said, come down. So we went down and we stood in our usual position behind the uncovered goal. And after about 10 minutes, Derek Afton, the Charlton centre-half, was taken off. He was very prone to dislocate his shoulders. He had them both wired up, and he only needed a touch on the shoulder to put it out. And he put his shoulder out and they took him off. There were no substitutes then, mind, so Charlton were down to 10 men.
When did substitutes start being used?
Oh, much later than the Huddersfield match. I don't know. I tell you, the first player, and incidentally Charlton have got another record there, the first player ever to play on the field, to be called on as substitute, was Keith Peacock, the old Charlton player. Well, he was Gillingham manager.
Yeah.
He was the first one. You look up. That's a little bit. But anyway, this match with Huddersfield, Afton was taken off after about 10 minutes, and Charlton were 5-1 down at half time. And my poor father, he hadn't been for months and months, and I said, sorry, this is such. You can't help it, he said. Anyway, at half time they're down 5-1, and then Johnny Summers, who died later of cancer. Johnny Summers started to roam all over the field in the second half, and he kept every time he shot, he scored, and he pulled it up to. He got one in, and we thought, oh, jolly good, it makes it look a bit better, 5-2, and then he got another, and then another, brought it up to 5-5. And by this time, one of the other Charlton players had got injured as well. He was still on the field, but limping badly. He wasn't playing much. So that in effect, they only really had 9 men. And he got it to 5-5, and then 6-5. Then he put them ahead. This was Summers again. He scored 5 altogether that day. And I thought, this is marvellous. And then about 5 minutes from the end, Huddersfield broke away and equalised and made it 6-6. Oh dear, after this marvellous fight back. And anyway, about 2 minutes from the end, I can remember it now, Ryan, who'd scored the first goal, suddenly broke through the middle and shot the ball into the top corner. The goalkeeper came out and he shot the ball into the top corner, 7-6. And it was a riot. It was the most exciting match I've ever seen, that one, in my life. And my poor father, he was so affected he couldn't, he was clinging onto this railing at the front. He could hardly stand up. So I made him sit down a bit, until the crowd had gone. Well, we staggered home. And that was the last match he ever saw.
What a way to
Yeah, and he never forgot it, he never forgot that Huddersfield game. That was a game, he said. No, you only get one in a lifetime, I suppose. That's right. I don't suppose those people will ever forget that match. 7-4, yeah. And funny enough, they played last night and only drew 1-1.
They missed a penalty as well.
Yeah.
All terrain.
Sacked in May 25. That was it. Well, it was during his reign that this happened, and I remember my father saying there'd been a fire at the grandstand and the books were burned. And they swore it was this chap burning the books. Because
he was suspended, so he got his comeuppance, didn't he, if it was.
That's right, yeah. Well, that was the time he had shares, because he lost his money.
Players' nicknames and why they got them. Apart from the granny.
No, I can remember Granny Hobbs, because he used to lope along like a granny, but marvellous ball player. Sailor Brown, of course.
Sailor Brown.
Sailor Brown.
Sailor. Yeah.
Well, yes. Wasn't because he had anything to do with the Navy. It was because he sort of had bow legs and he walked with a roll like a sailor, you see. He'd never been anything to do with the sea. But, Sailor Brown, he came from Galston, I think, in Norfolk. And it was said at the time that he'd walked from Gorleston to Charlton to try and get a trial at the time. I don't know why he chose Charlton, I'm sure. That's what I read. And walked, and of course he played for England, for Sailor Brown, contemporary of Don Welsh.
And Sammy Bartram, did he have a nickname at all?
No, just Sam. Just Sam. And of course, Don Welsh was the sailor. Charlton got him. He was in the Navy when Charlton got him. You know, he was playing for Torquay, because I suppose he was stationed down there. And Charlton bought him out of the Navy. But, he really was the sailor, not Sailor Brown. I don't know. Oh yes, I remember one. They had a right back called Campbell years ago, and he was called Slasher.
Obvious reasons, I can imagine.
He was a hard man.
Yeah.
He was very good at the sliding tackle, you know, sliding the ball and the player over the touchline. Slasher Campbell. Oh, Charlie River remember him, I expect. Slasher Campbell.
There were people like him around. You really had to watch out for your legs in those days.
You
I suppose.
did.
All the boots had steel caps on them, didn't they?
That's right. Yes, I mean, Slasher he was a very tough tackler. Not a very artistic player, but rough. You know, good defender he was. Campbell. No, it's funny enough. I can't remember any nicknames. There weren't too many, I don't think, in the team.
Were there any sort of shouts that go out from the crowd when particular players got into scrapes or if there was a forward coming down towards Slasher, what would people shout out?
Well, I suppose get in Slasher or something like that. No, it's I don't know. I think what I think was the biggest bargain they ever got in the form of a player, you know, paying a fee for a player, was Duffy. It was Duffy because I believe he played for Leith Athletic, which is no longer in existence. I think it's now Meadowbanks, or something, you know, up near Edinburgh. And he was, I believe he was stationed in the army at Woolwich during the war. And he played as a guest for Charlton. And is that when he came to the fore, really. And when the war was over, I think Charlton paid Leith Athletic £300 for him. And, and he scored all those goals and scored one on the cup, really, you know.
Yeah.
So I think he was probably about the biggest bargain they've ever had, I would say.
He earned his money.
He earned his money, yeah. I often thought that, £300.
But in those days, footballers weren't particularly well off as they are today.
Oh no, I
don't
know. Charlie Ruler would tell you more about that, but I think they were on a maximum of, I think £12 a week was the maximum, and £8 a week in the summer. I think they got
a retainer.
Yeah, perhaps a pound a point for a bonus or something. Yeah.
Did you get the players? What would they do during the summer? Would they be off playing cricket or?
Well, some of them did. I mean, Afton, for instance, and Leary, the South African, he played cricket for Kent. I think they both played. I know Afton played for Kent, and I think Leary played for Kent as well. He got a residential qualification, I suppose. And then before that, there was Frank Wrist, played centre half for Charlton for a while, and he was an Essex county cricketer as well. He was a real county cricketer, Frank Wrist. I don't know what the rest did. I'm sure the non-cricketers what they did during the summer. Not a lot, I suppose. I believe some of them used to go down to the valley and paint out the dressing rooms and things like that.
Cut the grass.
Cut the grass. Otherwise I don't know.
And how many matches would they be playing in a season? Because they say that these days they play so many matches.
Oh yeah, well of course there was no League Cup for a start, or Littlewoods Cup, whatever they call it now. Well, I suppose there was normally about 42 league matches, I suppose. FA Cup, if they got a run in the FA Cup, maybe a few more. But if they were knocked out in the first round, there wasn't much else.
What about European football? Was there any European football?
No,
in
not
those days?
not in those days. No, there were no English clubs in Europe. The European competition didn't come on until much later. I don't quite know when they came in, but English teams weren't in Europe. No, I mean, I say it was the league and the FA Cup, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, if you were knocked out of the cup early on, you just had your league matches. I rather fancy that, although football is much faster these days, not so good to look at as
No,
the
well,
football I used to watch. I know we always think the old games and the old things were best. As you get older, probably you do look back. But I really don't think I've watched the football on the television now.
Well, it's not surprising that it's fast these days. You think about the collar they were wearing back in the...
Oh yes, that's right.
Kind
Yes,
of ball weight,
red heavy
weather.
boots. Yes.
Yeah, if it was wet, it would really...
Solid leather ball. How they headed that ball, I don't know, on a wet day, I'm sure.
But then again, you could say that there would be a lot more skill in being able to control the ball.
Be much fitter now to do it. They must be much fitter. I think old, what's his name, the Charlton trainer who's recently retired. No, the physio is just retired. Charlie Hall.
Yeah.
He said that the players these days are much fitter than they used to be. Game so much faster. But at the same time, I what I recollect is that it was better to watch, better for the spectators in those days. It was, 5 forwards in a line, 2 wingers in a line.
Well, it's obviously like you've got two
You know,
men
it's
shooting
different
down on the outside.
formation,
cutting
yeah.
in, and it's-
Yeah,
When these days
to
you
cut in
start
behind the
sort of,
defence.
4 in the back, 4 in midfield,
That's
2
right.
couple up front. I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing really there to really excite.
No,
It's
not
just
really.
Well,
You get a block in the middle of the field, don't you? Sometimes the player's confined to a section either side of the halfway line, you know, and just get a breakaway.
Yeah, get the occasional shot that only goes
That's
wide.
right. Yeah.
But mind you, in the past few seasons, I don't know if it's been since they changed the point system in the league.
It may.
There seem to be a sort of lot more sort of high scoring games.
That's
than
right.
there were,
Yeah.
because
That's right.
it was 80% some scoreless draws.
Yeah.
But now it's not that unusual to see a few sort of 4-goal games or whatever.
Oh no, that's true.
Maybe
It is this 3-point list. Although I don't know that I altogether like the 3-point.
No,
I think it distorts. You get too many sudden movements. You get abrupt movements up and down. If you lose a couple, of course, with chance, they can't go down
Till next season.
till next season. But if you win, on the other hand, if you win maybe 2 or 3 games, you can really move up quite a few places in the table. So I not altogether, in favour of 3 points. But there you are. I suppose it has to an extent made brighter football. Clubs don't go away so much for a draw, do they? You've got to go and win.
Was there much sort of gamesmanship, sort of stalling for time for a lead?
Oh yeah.
Towards the end.
Oh yeah.
Kicking the ball back to the keeper.
Not hard. Yeah, I remember the ace. To me, the ace time waster when we were in front was Charlie Wright, Charlton goalkeeper of 90 years. Not that long ago, actually. I remember Charlie Wright because Charlton went through a period where they hadn't won a game for a long while. This was in the 2nd division, I think, and they hadn't won a game for some weeks. And anyway, finally, this game, Charlton were winning 1-0, and that was getting to 10 minutes to go. And Charlie was a Glaswegian, a great character. And he used to be the artist that wasted time. If the ball went into the crowd and, behind his goal, he'd come up to the crowd and say, take your time, So, and then he'd get the ball, get someone to tap it to him, and he'd bounce it to one edge of the penalty area and come back down. until the referee got angry with him, and but he was still wasting the time. He was an ace time waster, yeah.
And I'm late.
Oh, hello. Oh.
I'm at the ball.
I mean, I used to go in at the Floyd Road entrance, and it was all mud, until you got up onto the terracing. You slipped and slithered. I mean, before that big bank was extended, I mean, it was only about half its size, if that, before. It was sand cliffs. And during reserve matches, the kids used to get in, perhaps they got in over the wall or something. They used to play on that, slide down on tin sheets and things, on tin trays on that cliff.
Yeah. People were expected to stand there on a Saturday afternoon.
But, I mean, when they did all those improvements, they built that big bank and put a cover over the one end that was covered. It was a great improvement, really. I mean,
what were the facilities like at ground, for example, for toilets?
Not very good.
No.
Very crude, actually. I don't think they improved ever. The last time I went to the Valley, that last match, it's just the same.
Yeah.
Sort of a trough running down, No, facilities were never. I don't think they paid too much attention to facilities, really. Then.
Where did you get many people going to the pub before the game? Sort of coming in and reading a bit.
No, never remember seeing it. I know that probably someone did, but I don't remember seeing any. I'm not saying that everybody is whiter than white, but I don't remember ever seeing any disturbance at all. And I'd say the police force, the policing was very light.
Because it was all the noise in the first Wembley final was the biggest crowd ever had at Wembley, and it was controlled by one policeman on a horse.
That's right, yes. That's right, the man on the white horse. Yes, he was famous, wasn't he? Got all the crowd back off the pitch.
These days you hold the net in there with him.
Yeah. A thousand to push them all back. No, really what started me, my enthusiasm going off was when they first started to segregate the spectators. Opponents one end, home team the other, because the opponent's end at the Valley was in fact the end where I'd stood for years and years and years, my favourite spot. So there you are, you couldn't go in, or you didn't go in there if you didn't want your head knocked off. So that was the first start of my enthusiasm going. And then that was compounded when they put they had to put these high fences round. I thought, well, you've got to do that. Occasionally like that. It's not football, so my enthusiasm waned a bit. But I'd love them to come back to it. Come back here.
Well, let's hope that happens.
I hope so. Sincerely hope so. But,
your wife went with you, would she go nearly every week with you?
Oh yes, she got quite enthusiastic. Once she knew nothing about football before so she agreed to come one day. I think this was before we were married. Actually, we were married during the war. 1944, I think it was. I don't think it was. You'd kill me. I think it was 1944. But of course, like you say, I first started going out with her just before the war, and we hadn't really got going when I was called out, you see. And so it was only during my infrequent leaves that we really got together. And, she got quite enthusiastic, actually. In fact, she came up and saw them win the cup. We both got tickets. Remember applying to the Valley for 2 tickets for the cup. The postal application, and I wrote off, and I think I enclosed the banknotes, pound notes or something, and asked for 2 tickets and said I've been a regular supporter for years. And sure enough, I got the 2 tickets back in the post from the Valley. I think they were, I still got the stubs, I believe. I think they were £0.50. half crown
They
ticket.
sent you change for the post as well.
Yes, and they sent. You know, it must have been a hell of a lot of work for that staff. They sent the change in postage stamps. I had a big sheet of postage stamps for the change, and it was right to the penny. You know. That staff must have worked like niggers to get all those things out. Yes, the tickets were £half a crown, and we thought that was terrible because at that time we were paying a shilling, I think it was, to get into a league match and to pay £half a crown, even though it was a cup final. That was a bit much, you know. 2 tickets.
But you got your money's worth, though, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'll say. Really did.
How did you celebrate in the evening after the...
Well, I don't think really we did too much because there was no, as far as I remember, there was no match of the day on television then. You know, it wasn't on television as far as I know. All that I remember, you know, was seeing it in the cinema a day or two afterwards on the Pathitone News or something. They had this flickering film of the goal, you know. Well, I don't know. I think we were too emotionally exhausted to do very much.
Yeah.
Went round and told my father all about it because he'd heard it on the radio. So he'd listened to the commentary on the radio. He got excited, which he shouldn't have done really because he wasn't very well. But he loved it. You know, it was his dream that Sean ever win the cup.
My grandfather, because he was an ardent Bristol City fan in his life, and he died in '74, and the following season they got promotion to the first division, so he just missed out.
Just missed out on that. How long were they in the first division?
4 seasons, if that, I think.
4 seasons?
Well, if that, it may have been less,
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3. It was more than 1.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's been several teams have done that. Swansea did it, didn't they? They got up into the first.
Yeah.
They went right up and they slid right back.
That's right. Yeah, there's been